Hey there, and thank you for being with us. I'm Josh Ellis, the editor-in-chief of Success Magazine, excited for an exclusive interview today with a man who certainly would meet the definition of success for many, many people. He is Arthur Blank, co-founder of the Home Depot, philanthropist, and the owner of the NFL's Atlanta Falcons and Atlanta United FC of Major League Soccer. He's a new author with his book, Good Company, set to be published in September by HarperCollins, and with a foreword by former President Jimmy Carter. Good company indeed. Arthur, thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to chat with you and chat with your viewers. So we'll look forward to a good discussion, and hopefully we'll get some good response to the book.
Great. So I have enjoyed the book. It is in part a walk through your career, but really at its core, it's about values, how your values informed your businesses, including Home Depot, from the very start. So you and your co-founder at Home Depot, Bernie Marcus, had written the history of the company before with a book back in 2001. Why was it important for you to circle back and tell this story?
Well, I think this story is, what we did at HD was incredible, and they continue to do incredible work, and stock every day seems to reach an all-time high, and the company's being run beautifully. And as Craig Menear, who's the current chairman and CEO of the company, acknowledges on the flap of the book that, he's thankful for the culture that we established and left there, and they've nurtured and done a beautiful job with. It was amazing. The last 20 years, I left the company in 2001. In the last 20 years, investing and owning the Falcons, Atlanta United, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, #1 guest ranch rated in the West. Our PGA TOUR Superstore is the largest golf specialty store today in America. And our foundation, all of these businesses, and they're obviously very diverse, different geographies, different settings, et cetera, have all been extraordinarily successful. And what I have found over the years, and it was some advice I got early on, but I have found this consistently in all these businesses, is that you follow a set of values that drive the decision making, and nothing to do directly with profitability, but everything to do with a balance between profitability and people and profits and planet, and having a very diverse conscious about what we're doing, giving back and caring for our associates and those we serve and the communities we serve in, that we were coming out with very excellent results, and results that really were reinforced by our values. So, I think the beauty of the story is that, regardless of the environment, regardless of the business type, regardless of the geography, regardless of almost anything, in my opinion, when you make the right decisions for the right reasons and be willing to live with the consequences of those, you can end up with good financial results, but also a business or businesses that have a real purpose to them as it relates to who you're serving and who you're connected with.
You write at one point in the book, when good companies put the well-being of their customers and their associates, their communities first, financial success will follow. So that's the million or billion dollar question that people will be asking. How does that process work? What is the direct line from A to B there?
Well, I think a direct line, I would say this, it's also interesting to acknowledge that the Business Roundtable last year, 2019, they changed their core, their not philosophy, but their approach in saying our primary job, this was 192, the most largest companies in America run by very, significant CEOs, is not just about profitability. It's about, doing right for the people we're serving, doing right for suppliers, doing right for communities, et cetera. So it's great to see that acknowledgement, something that we've lived and learned for, a long period of time. But I think the linkage is that you make decisions that's right for the people that you serve, in our case, customers, fans, guests. You make decisions that are right for your associates. You make decisions that you understand are going to reflect on the communities that you're living in, not just philanthropy, but how you make those decisions and how they impact the communities that you're living in. You understand that community or people at their very best are achieving at the highest results in any sense of life when they have purpose, And you see from the results of those kinds of decisions, which are frankly not difficult to make, when you have a longer term view. If you try to manage, I think, earnings, revenue, day to day, and what have you, and sometimes short-term thinking and short-term decision making will not keep those values in line. You'll end up making some interim decisions that will not be as purposeful as you really are looking for. So I think that thinking longer term, and it's one of the beauties, I think we learned that at HD, when we would always take a long-term view, and as a result, our institutional investors would stay with us for a long period of time, because when we had bad news, which wasn't often, but whenever we had it, we would share it with our investors first. And we had good news, we'd share it with them too, but we weren't, we say, okay, this is, what's going on in the company, et cetera. So the level of trust that we established with the investor community is very, very important. And I think the beauty of this circle of values, these 6 core values that we describe in the book, and give a lot of examples of how they're applied and how they work in different settings, et cetera, all reinforce the level of trust that's required, the level of trust that once you build that in and you achieve that with who you're serving and with the associates that are serving the customers, fans, guests, your opportunity for success becomes a lot greater. And I think at the end of the day, the associates have a much greater sense of purpose, a much greater sense of identity, feeling good about who they're working with when they go home at night, and when they're talking to their wife, their husband, their dogs, whatever it may be they talk to at night. Their chest is out, their shoulders are back, they feel good about what they're doing. And it's not really about compensation, that's important, but it's really about purpose. And I think today we're seeing that with younger populations across America, that they're asking the really bigger questions. Is that, why am I here? How do I serve? How do I have purpose to my life? It's not really how life serves me, but how do I take advantage of the life that I have to give back and make a difference and make profits at the same time? It's critical. And I think in all of these businesses we're running today, as well as HD, still running the same core set of values. You go back to a shareholders meeting there, and what you see is the inverted pyramid, or you see the wheel of values. Every shareholders meeting starts that way 40 years later, after the company has been up and running so beautifully.
Well, last point then, you mentioned the foundation. You've been a benefactor to so many great causes over the years through the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation. Your personal proceeds from the book, Good Company, are going to the National Center for Civil and Human Rights. Why did that donation feel right for you with this project?
Well, it's really interesting because we made that decision, probably a year and a half ago, before a lot of what we're living with now was what we're living with, the COVID and the epidemic and the social unrest and the police brutality issues, et cetera. So, it's an incredible organization. Atlanta is the home of Dr. King. It's the home of two, gentlemen that are probably two of the leading disciples of Dr. King, John Lewis and Andy Young, and many, many others as well, C.T. Vivian, a variety of other leaders. So that museum, I think, represents not only nationally, but internationally, the history of civil rights and human rights, and the successes and the failures and the areas we still have to work on. So it's a magnificent building. It's going to need, more help in the future, as all these nonprofits will be. And so I'm proud to have, our family's name connected to the building, connected to their mission, connected to the education that comes out of it, the awareness. And, people, when our owners went through, that building to get into the tent area where we had the dinner that night, I got amazing comments, and still do today, that, Jerry might not like this, but I love Jerry, so it's okay. But Jerry might like it. They said, and even Jerry said it actually at the time. He said, this is the best owners party we've ever had, because it one that had purpose and meaning to it. It wasn't a matter of how good the food was and how good the drink was and all that kind of stuff. But we had, a Michael Vick, A Story of Redemption, was the MC that night. John Legend was our performer that night. We had, Dr. King's children were with us that night. I mentioned John Lewis and Andy Young. And so it was a night that had great purpose to it. We're telling a story to our owners in recognition of job well done, league is great, et cetera, et cetera. We're here to celebrate the Super Bowl, but we're here also to acknowledge, that the world isn't actually right yet, and we have more work to do. And it's our job as leaders in our communities, as leaders in our businesses, as in our leaders in an unbelievable industries in my case, to continue to do the right things for the right reasons. And as my mother used to say, you live with the consequences. So.
As folks read the book, they will certainly understand where that decision came from. Thank you so much, Mr. Blank. I very much appreciate it, and I recommend Good Company to anybody watching. Thank you very much for being here.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time today and for the time of your viewers. I appreciate it. Thank you.